Do you want to make money as a salon owner? Take home a profit, take home an income? Hey, I'm Kayla, and I'm the host of the Profitable Salon Podcast. And on with me today is the one and only Jason Everett. Welcome to the show, Jason.
What up? Good to be on. I'm excited to be hanging out. It's going to be fun today.
I'm excited to have you because today's topic is profit. And I know that you might know a thing or two about profit.
I might have written a book about profit. I don't know. If you were curious, it's funny. I just was talking to somebody, who shall remain nameless because they like to be anonymous, but they text me their profit check every month.
Wow.
And let's just say they got the biggest profit check they've ever had, and it had lots of zeros. And they were like, Jason, I can't share this with anybody else. Thank you for letting me share it with you. And I love seeing people's profit checks that are just into the stratosphere. And I know that's very vague. And people are like, how much is it? Just know that it's very possible to take home a lot of money from salons. When I say a lot of money, $100,000, $500,000, or $1 million. That might be multiple salons, obviously, at that standpoint, or some schools and things like that. But we have people who have been in our program forever that, like Danielle Cherwick, I mentioned her name anyway. But Danielle said, man, she was just one little salon when she started. Now I think she has 2 or 3 salons, and she just signed her second school. And dude, that's next level in just a couple of years. It's a few years. It's not even that far away. So
no kidding.
Her profit is crazy. And it's possible, man. It's possible. If you're just one salon right now and you're like, I want to do some big stuff, let's do big stuff. Let's talk about profit because that's what helps you grow, man. Profit is the fuel of your future. Let's do it.
No kidding. I mean, why else do you get in a business without trying to make money? So first, let's talk about different ways. You've talked about when they're making a profit, there's making a profit, there's taking home an income. Let's talk about that a little bit to set the stage.
Yeah. Okay. So, most salons, and this is a really important thing on taking home profit, is when you're first starting out in business, you're probably not taking home a profit. You're probably hustling a lot. You might be taking home some paycheck, but most businesses, I mean, even my business, when I started this thing 15, almost 16 years ago now, the beginning of starting this thing, I wasn't taking home mad profit checks in my first 1, 2, 3, even the first 5 years. I really wasn't taking home a very healthy profit check. And it's one of those things where you start out by taking your service provider income, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're working and doing some actual work, you start paying yourself as a service provider. Then maybe you start paying yourself as a manager / owner. Then you start taking a profit check at some point in the future. And profit really starts to show up in your business, usually in the first couple $100,000, maybe up to the $500,000 a year mark. And I say that is gross revenue. That's when the profit starts to really kick in. Yeah. And then by the time you hit $1 million, you should have a pretty healthy profit. You should have, it could be 10, could be 20% profit margin on $1 million business. But I know a lot of businesses who are doing 1 million, 2 million, or 3 million that are taking zero profit off the lie that they are reinvesting all their profit back into the growth of their company. Mm-hmm. While that might be true, it is a myth and a lie that you tell yourself in most cases. So you've got your behind the chair service provider type income, you've got your owner pay, manager pay, then you have your profit distribution. Then hopefully your other source of income would be something like real estate and other income that you have from the business. Investing. But those would be the 4 sources of income, and the third being profit. And profit is defined as the reward for running a business. Employees get paychecks, owners should be taking profit checks, paychecks, but they should be taking a profit check, which is a reward for taking the risk of opening the business in the first place. And that's what we're talking about, is are you getting rewarded for taking the risk? And if you took a risk in business, type risk in the comment section, because if you're on with us listening to us, I know you can't type in the comment section. You could just yell at your speaker and just say risk. That's fine.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. All my call to actions. People are like, I can't type in the chat, Jason. Just yell at the speaker. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll hear you. We know you're saying
Alexa. She knows. She knows all.
She's listening to everything. The government will hear you. Anyway, and if you're listening, you're like, no way. And is there a possibility to make those 4 ways of income? Then that's what we're talking about today. So stick around because we're going to break down what that could look like for you. So Jason, where do people start to begin? So people are opening their salons and say they're only paying themselves behind the chair. How do they start to transition and make those adjustments?
Yeah, well, I mean, what you got to do is you got to start running a healthier operation. You have to start building team. And I was going to say this, it just kind of came out as you were mentioning that, Kayla, is I wanted to say the government actually wants you to make a profit in your business too, because when you make a profit, they get paid also. So that's a whole other thing. But they really do want you to run a profitable business because they know they can get paid. And a lot of it's well, I don't want to turn a profit because then I have to pay the government. I'm like, well, yeah, but you have to pay yourself too. Yeah. A business should afford you a lifestyle in the form of the business creates a certain type of lifestyle for you, but then the income that you generate from your business should create a lifestyle that you want as well. and I know I'm on a quick tangent. I promise I'll come back to your question. But I was just on a call and somebody was complaining because they had a tax bill. And they're like, oh my God, Jason, I had a $30,000 tax hiccup.
Ooh.
And I don't know about you, Kayla. Like, I don't think anybody wants a $30,000 tax surprise. That's not
I don't
so
want
good.
any tax surprise.
Yeah, but I remember, having a $5,000 tax surprise, $30,000 tax surprise. One year I had a $50,000 tax surprise. One year I had an $80,000 tax surprise. And it's like, those things are gross. But the reason why I'm bringing that stuff out and I'm bringing that up is that those are good problems. Like, you want to have that type of problem. What a blessing to be able to have people say like, oh my God, I have $1 million business. I don't have any profit. That's a blessing. Just you have $1 million business. Let's take that.
Yeah.
How do you get started? How do you start taking a profit? Well, first and foremost, you have to know what are the services that are the most profitable inside your business. So one of the things we do inside the academies, we do something called a Genesis budget, and it helps you understand, where's your money going? How is it moving? And what is profitable? There was a client we used to work with in the UK, Ben and Lucy Hards. I think that was the last name, Hards. Anyway, Ben and Lucy. That's all I remember. Ben and Lucy. They were awesome. And I remember they were running a promotion for something. They were like, oh, we have to run this special promotion. We do it every year, etc. And I remember Doug had asked them, he had said, well, what do you make on that? And they're like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, what do you make on that promotion that you run that sells out every year? And they're like, I don't know. We've never done the math.
Oh.
And he's like, well, you should probably do the math. So they did the math and they found out that on every service they booked, they lost $25.
Oh my gosh. Silly gooses.
So I know, right? So, but like, we don't think about things like that, right? It's like, look, Costco can sell hot dogs for $1.50 and lose money, but they know why they're doing it. Okay. You should not be running promotions that you lose money on in most cases. And so what a lot of times happens, and I was just on one of the calls with one of our people in our CEO program, and they were like, hey, we realize that our spa division is more profitable than the salon. So we're adding on to the spa division versus adding more chairs. And so when you start making decisions for profit, profit-minded business owner, which is why we call the book Profitable Salon Owner, is like make decisions for profit, you change the game of how you play. So instead of like one of the best things you can do is like create, and this is in Mike Michalowicz's book, Profit First. He recommends versions of this stuff. He goes, just open a bank account and like transfer $10 a month in that account. Transfer $100 a month in that account. Just say, that's my profit. I'm just going to hide it. I'm going to put it over there. I'm going to put it in a bank account in another state that I can't get access to, and like put it over there so it's hard to get to. You know what I mean? It's like putting it in a sock. And he said, just put it somewhere that you can't really get to. It's not easy to access, and it's a pain in the butt. It requires like, 7 keys, a lock, a password, a retina scan. Like you hide it. And then after you spend a month or two of like putting that money away, and like, oh, there's actually some profit in there, and you take that first profit check home, it's really incredible. So one of the disciplines, and there's other versions of the Profit First book. I would just say read the original from Mike Michalowicz. Let's start there.
Always go to the
OG book. I'm a big fan of Mike's original book, not the rest of the stuff that comes after. But what I would just say is you have to condition yourself to expect a profit. And that's really what's happening in that mode is you're conditioning yourself to expect a profit. Now, if you put $100 away and you do that for a while, you're like, wait a second, maybe I put 500 in there. Maybe I put 1,000 in there. Maybe I can put a couple thousand in there. And what you start to get in this mode. And I remember when I read Profit First, we started doing that in the company. All of a sudden there was like $100,000 in the account. I'm like, what? Where did that come from? That's amazing. And I was like, what's going on? And like that kept growing. And it was like, there was 10 grand, there was 20 grand, there was 30 grand. And all those things started happening. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, this is actually how business is supposed to work, is you're supposed to be rewarded for all that risk you took. You know, when you shelled out hundreds of thousands of dollars to do your build out and buy the furniture and do all those other things, that like you shelled out your hard earned, worked for money to build a business, and you got to do it. So you got to start with the discipline of like squirreling away some of that money, putting it somewhere, and putting it in a place that you go, okay, I'm going to pay myself. And the first time you take a profit distribution check, and it's a real profit distribution check, that's the beginning, it's really incredible. But I know multi-million-dollar business owners that don't have that second account set up. And I've had clients who've been in the academy that they wrote themselves the first $100,000 check out of their profit account, and they were crying when they did it. They were crying because I know business owners who used to make $100,000 a year behind the chair. Then they ran a business, they didn't make $100,000 a year. That's silly. Like you
Making
shouldn't
less
be
money
going
owning a
backwards
salon.
to do more work, right? So how do you make that happen? You start by squirreling away. That's the beginning phase, like you
Yeah.
asked.
Yeah. So I can already know there's people listening being like, I don't even know, because they're starting their little voice, as we know a little voice mastery, but
Yeah,
or their little
for
voice
sure.
starting to be like, no way, man, there's no way that's possible, or like the guilt that they feel. Like, let's debunk some of that. Let's work through some of that first before we start going into the rest of it. So like, how do you start to realize that you deserve that?
Well, I mean, look, an employee would be upset if they didn't get a paycheck. But we do something weird when we become business owners is we become these people that don't feel like we should get paid for what we do. Like
Yeah.
it's a really weird thing. And I think it's because when you're an employee, and I mean, you are an employee of our company. So I say this in the nicest way possible. And if you're listening to this and you're in there, but when you're an employee, sometimes you look at the boss like they're evil. I hope you don't look at me like I'm evil, but I'm just saying, like, you sometimes in some organizations, that's how they view things. Is they're like, oh, the boss just makes all this money and does all this stuff, and like, here I am struggling, and the boss is not struggling, and they're making money off my back, or all these, and like, it's a thing because in society, that's a thing. Like, it's kind of a joke. And I'll say it this way. Like, Kayla, you've been with me. We've gone to lunch before, and people are like, oh, where do you work at or something? And I make a joke about like, oh yeah, our boss is evil. Because I'm the boss. And like, I just kind of make the joke. I'm like, oh yeah, my boss is a slave driver. He makes us go back to work on time and all those things. And like, and I kind of make the joke because in society, we love to have a villain that we can fight against. And the typical villain that all of us in society want to fight against is that boss. Like, the boss is always the adversary in the business, right?
Yeah.
The boss tells you what to do, when to do it, whatever. So when you're a kid, I'm gonna go on a tangent. I'll come back, I promise. I love some tangents. If you like tangents, type in the word tangents and support my habit.
Or yell it at your radio.
Or yell at your Bluetooth speaker. What I was going to say is like, when you're a kid, you want to fight your parents. And when you grow up, you go to school and then you fight your teachers. And then when you become an employee, you want to fight your boss. Like, that's just the natural order of things. Or you fight the government. That's the other one you can fight. The government is evil too. We always have to have somebody that we're resisting against. So if the boss is the evil person that does that, when you become a boss, in the beginning, you still have that mindset of, who am I fighting against? Who am I fighting against? And you're still fighting against the boss, but even though you are the boss, so you end up resenting yourself. And the way you get back at yourself for resenting yourself is you don't take a paycheck. And that paycheck comes in the form of profit, right? So that's kind of that way of like punishing yourself, or like, well, I'll be, and then you say things like this: I'll be a different kind of boss. I'll pay my people more commission. I'll pay my people more salary. I will do things differently because when I was an employee. Now, I always try and put myself as the quote unquote boss that I've been for 15 plus years. I always try and put myself in a position where I'm working with anybody on the team is like, okay, what was it like when I was in that role? What did I want to do? What did I want to hear? What did I want to be praised with? How did I want my income to go up? What do I want to do? And create models for them to continue to grow their income, and say, like, play within this model, go to town. You want to grow, do this, like, give people a place to go. And dude, I could always be better at that 100%. But I think that we coach people to be better at allowing people to do it. So same for you, you need to be rewarded in the same way in the business. And so step 2 in the process of creating yourself a profit is, number 1, start putting some money in there. Number 2 is make it a percentage. Make it a percentage. Decide you're going to say, I'm going to take 1% profit. 1%. Now, remember, you're paying in your salon, you're probably paying your commission employees, right? They might be paying 40%, 45%, maybe 50%, maybe even a little bit more commission than that. But when you pay that 50% commission, let's just call it for ease of 50%, you're saying, I think as the owner for setting up this whole thing, I'm worth 1%. 1%. Pay yourself 1% commission. Then maybe if you're lucky, get it to 2% commission. Then maybe it's 5% commission. And a good salon owner might be able to get to 10 or 15% commission on all total gross revenue. We've had some salons that have gotten up to 20%, depending on how they're set up and what they're doing and how they're paying themselves. And that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But the idea is you start paying yourself that way and you go, cool, this is why I've put it together. And if I've created a business that I can create jobs for 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 people, like, that does deserve some reward for creating that many jobs for other people, that people are like, hey, I don't have to worry about working somewhere because I get to come to work here. Like, that's how it should feel. And if it's a fun place to work, you shouldn't feel guilty about taking money out of the business. It should feel good. Like, I've created something awesome. I want to get rewarded. I want my employees to be rewarded. As long as we're all rewarded, we do cool work together.
Yeah. Totally.
That
So
helps.
it's because you think how you want to take care of your staff and make sure they have really good lives, but then also think of yourself. Like you've made it to here, you've done all this work to build this up, and so take care of yourself too.
Not popular opinion.
No.
In order to serve others, you must also serve yourself. And like this is the biggest problem for salon owners. They're the ultimate host or hostess. They want to take care of every single guest. At the end of the day, they get to the buffet and they're out of food. There's no food left, so they're like, I'm not going to eat. And the reality is, if you don't eat, you won't be around to run the business tomorrow. So even though that's hard to say, I'm going to make sure that as the owner, I'm going to eat a plate of food and I'm going to make sure I'm taken care of. What'll happen is everybody else will just take just a little bit less and it's no big deal. But if you let everybody go raid the buffet before you get there, they all go raid the buffet and they're all eating as much as they want and you got nothing. You're not going to go around and like take a little bit off everybody's plate. So it's a weird thing as a leader to say, I'm going to make sure that I grab a plate in advance and hide it. I remember when I got married, we were talking to so many people when we got married and somebody like made us a plate of food because they're like, you're not going to remember to eat. And our wedding planner, she made us plates and put them in the refrigerator in our hotel room. And she was like, I know it's really hard to eat at your wedding, so we made you a plate and like stuck it away.
Oh, that's cool.
That's what we're doing in the owner is we're saying you're going to forget to eat because you're so busy taking care of everybody that we're going to take this plate of food and hide it away for you because you're going to forget to eat. And that's what people do, right? Is like they forget to eat. They forget to take their profit check and they're so worried about everybody else. Like it's funny that the thing that makes you a business owner is the gift that makes you the business owner is that you're so worried about everybody else, you don't eat. And but you won't last that way. You can't have if you didn't eat on your wedding day, it's not going to kill you. But if you don't eat every day, and that becomes months and weeks and years and whatever,
start to
and
resent
you're struggling
your
with
business.
Profit, you're like, why do I even own this thing? What's going on? I
Totally.
hate myself. I hate this. I hate it. And you become a grumpy human being that nobody wants to be around. And like, nobody wants to be around you when you do that. So, that's why I think profit is a really important piece for you to say it's a reward for running the business that keeps you encouraged and happy to be doing it every day.
Yeah. For sure. Well, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we talked about how to earn money as a salon owner. And we're going to talk about how to build a profitable salon when we come back. So stick with us.
Let's do it.
Are you ready to increase your retention and revenue and convert website traffic to clients? Then you're ready for Maya. Maya creates better business relationships by pairing the right clients with the right beauty professionals. Use promo code HPSA for your first 2 months free. Visit joinmaya.com to get started.
Hey, HPSA listeners. Let me ask you this. Are you tired of not knowing what your hair color is costing you on every appointment and watching it chew up your profit? Well, with Salon Scale, we take the guesswork out for you. Using a mobile app paired with a Bluetooth scale, Salon Scale will tell you exactly what your color is costing you on every bowl mix down to the gram. As you mix, Salon Scale will also digitally store your formulas and track how much product is being used in real time. So you can manage your inventory, cover your expenses, and generate more profit in your salon. Use promo code HPSA10 to get 10% off an annual subscription. Salon Scale, the new standard for mixing color.
Sustain Beauty Co. has two of the best tools to help you save water, time, and a bunch of money. Join the clean water salon movement with EcoHead's water-saving shampoo nozzles and scrummy plant-based microfiber towels. Available at sustainbeauty.co.
We're Phorest, born on the salon floor and built for and by hair and beauty professionals like you. Phorest is your marketing, your reporting, your reputation management. You need one easy-to-use system that does it all. Phorest, together we grow.
Welcome back to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Jason and I have been talking about profit. We spent the whole first half of the podcast talking about how to earn money as a salon owner in 4 different ways: as a behind the chair, as see if I can remember. This is a test.
Yeah, fortunately I can fill it in if you forget. Yeah,
no, okay.
Behind the chair. Yep, service provider.
To take a manager paycheck.
Yeah, manager.
And then to take a profit check.
You got it. Do you remember the fourth one?
If you start investing and start like bringing in other things. I can't remember how you said it.
Not just investment, but I would say real estate, like owning the real estate that your business owns is another way to create additional income from your salon company by benefiting from the real estate that you own, if you can own it, if you're not like in a strip mall or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And if your little voice is like, no way, then go back and listen because we had some really good stuff to talk about crashing that little voice.
Good news. That's what we teach. Hang out. We do that stuff. Hang out with us more.
Yeah. And if you're listening to all this and you're like, I just don't see it, then come hang out with us because we will help you see it. We will get you in a room of 100 salon owners who are doing just that, taking home a profit, and you'll see that it's possible.
Fastest way to earn a profit is hang out with 100 profitable salon owners, and you will. Like they'll break your brain, man. They'll like look at you and be like, why aren't you making a profit? Let's fix that. And like sometimes you need to hear that, man. It's lonely being a salon owner. You can't talk to you're not going to go to your employees and be like, hey guys, I really need to earn a profit. They're gonna be like, screw you. Remember what I said earlier? You're the boss. Nobody cares. Like if I whine to my employees about I didn't earn a profit, they're like, yeah, we still got paid. Thanks. So they don't care. But come to a group with us inside our Profitable Salon Owner community or in our academy, and you will be forced into earning profit for your company. For sure. If you want to be forced into it, hang out with us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like also just seeing what's possible, like just seeing other people, and we talk about our wins all the time is a huge part of what we do. So even seeing what's possible in others also gives you the drive, like, oh, I can do that too. Like whenever I'm like going to do something scary, if I see somebody do it first, I know it's possible and they didn't die, I'm like, oh, I can do that too. So
like, I didn't die off that bridge. I could probably jump it.
Yeah. All right. So now we're going to talk about profit in general of like in the salon, how to be a profitable salon where you're not just like churning your money into like, you're earning a profit in the salon. Let's talk about that a little bit. So what is some key elements to think about when you're thinking about making a profit as a salon?
Yeah. So we already talked about like looking at every service and seeing what's the most profitable. Like I think that's a really important thing. But I think really what you should do is you start dividing your business into profit centers. Okay. So you say, what are the profit centers in my business? So if you're like, all right, so haircuts are a profit center, colors is a profit center, our boutique is a profit center, our retail is a profit center, right? What are all the things that are profit centers in the business? And then you start to say, well, what can I do to tweak that as a profit center? So one of the things that we instruct people to do, speaking of like making a tweak inside a division, is we do something called profitable back bar, which is your back bar. Most people that run a salon, and this is starting to become a lot smaller. I mean, we put this out like 3.5 years ago, and it kind of went like wildfire through the industry. Wildfire, that's what I was saying. Wildfire through the industry, and a lot of people kind of ripped off the idea and did their own version of it, and a couple other things. And like, I would still say that nobody runs it exactly like we do, and I think that's a really a big testament because we make sure it's profitable. That's why it's called profitable back bar. Is that most people, the color division of their business, like the back bar area, is not profitable. It's literally a cost center. Is they go, well, I just have to eat it, or I try to pass forward the cost of it. And we actually advocate that you mark up the color and sell that as a separate line item to your guests. And there's a whole way to do that. There's a right way and a wrong way. I don't have time to get into it on this whole show, but if you want help creating a profitable back bar, say profitable back, type in the chat or yell at your Bluetooth speaker, profitable back bar. And we'll show you like how we do it. There's lots of different tools and ways to do it, depending on what scale system you use and everything else. We happen to love Salon Scale, which is obviously a partner of ours on this podcast. But I would just say in general, that's such a big opportunity for us, is making sure that every profit center in your business becomes more profitable. So the back bar can be a profit center, your retail can be a profit center, and each one of those you got to evaluate, well, is that profit center doing well? Because you might say, okay, hair cutting as a service is probably our lowest profit margin area. Well, what's more profit margin? Well, retail's more profit margin, but is your retail department operating at the standard that it should be? Because each of those departments need to be operating at the standard that they should. And then same thing, if you had a boutique, is the boutique operating at the profit availability that it should? And when you start to do that, that's where like you could have, like, let's say all your revenue is coming from services, but that's a very low profit margin thing. And then your retail sales are really, really small. So that profit of your business is going to be really small because the one that's doing really, really well is low profit. So you got to balance out, can you get those higher profit areas in your business to make more profit? It'll be easier to then take that percentage out, easier to take that flat fee out. All those things will be helpful for you.
Now, does it matter, like say you have those 4 profit areas, centers, thank you. Does it like say one's doing really, really well? Like, is it best to balance the 4 centers, or is it to focus on the ones like say that getting a haircut is your lowest?
Balance
profit.
is a bad word. I would say maximize. Okay. So what you want to do is say like, for example, we talk about something called RTS, retail to service, right? So let's say you do $100,000 in service sales, how much retail should you be doing? And it's a volume calculation. Okay. So what you're doing is you say $100,000 in service sales for the month or whatever, then how much did you do in retail? Now, a lot of places will say industry average is around 15% of that is retail. That would mean you sold $15,000 in retail products to $100,000 in services. And a lot of people would say, cool, that's really good. High five yourself. Well, we have salons inside our academy that sell $30,000 of retail products, double that, $30,000 in retail products for that same $100,000 in service. So when you're in a community like we run inside the academy and you go, wait a second, how come, and this isn't about balance, because I can't say, hey, 100,000 in service and 100,000 in retail. I'm not trying to balance them all. I'm just trying to look at the ratios. So if I can say that 30% of my revenue is coming from that, from retail, and then I have 100% that's coming from 100% of that and 30% of the other. If I look at those two numbers and I go, okay, that's a pretty good, like I'm maximizing that area. Now I have some people who are doing 40% in retail for their salons. Okay. So you might go, well, geez, maybe I'm not maximized all the way. I'm only getting part way there. But if you were only doing 15,000 in retail or 15% RTS, or if you're doing 30, you just doubled the amount of maximization you're getting out of that division, right? Yeah. So same thing is like, what percentage should you be doing at the back bar? What percentage should you be doing a boutique? What percentage should you be doing all those different areas? And so what you're starting to do is maximize each area. So it's not really like a balance of like, cool, I got this much profit from this area, this much profit from this area, this much. It's saying like, what are services capable of doing? And that's limited by the number of service providers you have. What's retail capable of doing, and that's limited by how many services you have, right? So that's a trickle. What is the back bar capable of doing? What is the boutique capable of doing? What's spa capable of doing? What's nails capable of doing? What's our esthetician, what are they capable of doing? Each of those divisions need to be maximized, not balanced. If that, I would just put that phrase out there.
No, I'm glad that you clarified that, because that makes a lot more sense of like what's capable, what is it doing? Yeah. How can we build it?
And by the way, there's a phrase for that we have specifically. It's called capacity utilization. It's you want to maximize it so it gets to 80 to 85% of your total overall capacity. When you hit about 80% of the capacity of that division, you know you've maximized the capacity for what that is. And there's calculations. We have a whole thing on how do you calculate those things for each of your divisions to help you grow as a business. So.
And why 80 over 100?
Well, because 80%, it starts to get really stretched. So a lot of people kind of like mistakenly say, well, let's be at 100% of our capacity. But the problem is, in all reality, you can never be at 100% because there's always something that will go wrong. Like, for example, you will never have every minute of your day filled with a guest. There will always be gaps and holes in that process, because it's just, it's a rule that went around on like filling up venues and things like that. Is that they found that once they got to about 80% capacity, people felt like the venue was full, even though it wasn't, because it feels full. And there's like all these scraggler seats and all these other things in venues. So it's kind of the same framework of like in your salon, is that you will never maximize every moment of it. And people just feel very busy when you're at 80% capacity. Yeah. It feels very busy. It's really hard to squeeze out the full 100%. So what I've seen is people, when they're in a business that is at like 90% of their capacity of that division, they're really stressed out and they're like, I don't know, I can't even function. And so that's just a general guideline that's been proven over and over again, that's the best use of capacity, is about 80% of people's capacity. And again, it falls in the 80-20 rule. It's all those things.
For sure. And I could imagine like even for staff, like when it's that full and everyone's just elbow to elbow, and it's just like can start to affect the culture of your salon.
Let me ask you, Kayla, when you show up to work every day, from the second you get here to the end of your day, are you always working on exactly work? You have no conversation with other people at work. You never talk about anything that's non-work related. You don't have to go to the bathroom. You never, have a text message that interrupts your time at all, right? You can be at 100% of your full work capacity. That's what I should expect from you.
Yeah, every single day. Man. I just walk in every
clearly.
Day.
No, that's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. So, but that's what we're saying is we're looking for 80%. I mean, we know distraction can happen. We know all that stuff's going to happen. We know things are going to come up. We know you're going to be social. We know all those things, which is why I'm looking for 80% capacity, not 100%. Yeah. You would never work here if you had to be 100% productive every second of the day. If I had a monitor over your shoulder and you had to be at 100% productivity, otherwise you'd be fired, you would hate it here.
No, that's a good picture analogy. You're really good at giving a picture analogy because that helped me really understand, like, yeah, like that helped me understand that not being at 100%, then it's okay, because those brain breaks, taking a walk, that it's okay to operate like that.
Okay.
Totally.
It's okay. We're looking for 80. We're not looking for 100.
Nice. Okay, so we are going to wrap up, but before, I want to, people who are listening, I know it's a lot and you're probably like, I kind of get it. Maybe I don't, maybe you're on fire, maybe you're not. But what are some key takeaways that people listening can walk away with right now that they can start implementing no matter where they're at?
Yeah. So let's recap kind of what we said on today. So number one is create a separate account, a separate bank account that you can start putting some profit into. And at the beginning, just pick an arbitrary number, start putting it in there, see if you can stomach it, right? This is eating first, basically paying yourself first, putting away that food from the buffet for you. Okay. So put away that food. Then start to put it in a percent. Say, what are the 1%, 2%, 5%? What can you do? Start squirreling that money away. Then start looking at profit centers inside your business. Look at different divisions, try to figure out exactly what's going on in each one of those divisions, and then work on maximizing each of those specific divisions, and you will have massive, massive improvement in how your profitability works. I would also just say, if it's worth a read, the Profitable Salon Owner book might be worth a read. If you want to copy the book, I'll even give it to you. Just comment book.
Free.
Yeah, comment book. We'll give you the book for free. I want you to become freaking profitable, because if you're profitable and you start making a difference in the lives of not only yourself, but you will change everybody's life around you when you run a business. And I'll leave you with this final thought, Kayla. If you're not earning a profit from your business, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And it's such an important thing that people wrap their mind around, that the business is designed to make a profit, and you're ripping off the universe, you're ripping off all kinds of people when the business is not profitable. It is your obligation to be profitable, because when you do that, you'll be able to hire more people, you'll be able to build a better business, you'll be able to serve more people, you'll actually be able to serve out your purpose way better than you can. Like if I could just say, hey, Kayla, you can do everything you want with money, or you can do everything you want and you can be broke. Which would you pick? With money. Duh,
Definitely.
right? So what I'm saying is, this is the same for a business owner, is choose to do all the things that you want to accomplish in your life with money in your pocket. It is not a dirty word. Please use it. It is a tool to create greatness.
Yeah, and just make you happier and make you love your business even more and be more more profitable and be more fulfilled. Well, thank you so much for hanging out, Jason. This has been very informative. Hopefully you got something out of it. And if I know that Jason said book at the end of it, yelling book into your Bluetooth is not really going to get it to us. So feel free to message us anywhere. You can message us on Instagram, Facebook. Come find us, message us the word book, and we will get you the book for free.
Yeah, and if you want help, if you actually want some coaching and guidance and things like that, and you actually want like somebody to sit with you and go like, Jason, this is overwhelming, comment coaching, and we'll talk to you about what our coaching program looks like, our group coaching program, the academy, etc. Comment coaching, comment academy, and somebody will reach out and make sure you get on the phone with somebody from our team and let you know how we can guide you to making the profit that you deserve.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time on the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast.
You've been listening to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a review, and check us out at profitablesalon.com for more episodes, content, and to help you turn your salon into the business you've always dreamt of.